Hello. I am now live in another post, but that's fine. Um, Let me tap back in to connect to you again. I'll mention you guys here. Here we go. Now this is what happened because I couldn't hear myself, so I was a bit confused. All right, welcome. Here we go. Here are you guys. Gonna wait a little bit longer because now we gotta set it all up and have people come back in again to see where they're at. I know there's a bit of a lag, so I'm gonna let this run through. And yeah. Hi, Vic. Hi, Craig. Thank you for coming into the next live that I had to set up to get this all going. I hope you're having a good evening. It's Friday night, so let's see how many people have will tune in with us. And then this is the time where it would be nice for me to be able to see and hear you. And we could have had a little conversation. But that's all right. All right. Well, since I had a little bit of technical issues, I will start my live for tonight. Now we got one more coming in. All right. I'm gonna get started because it's 7:10, and yeah, I'm ready to do this. Welcome to the ones who've decided to come and join me tonight. My name is Sophie. And this is, I will say this first because this is my first live that I've done, and so bear with me a little bit. Hi, Veronica. And these headphones are giving me grief. Patience, right? Here we go. Um, yes, welcome to my live. Will be the last one for this week. I know there's been some really amazing ones going on all through the week, and how great is that that everyone gets an hour to share their magic. Um, I will tune in to all of yours um, as well. Um, So I am really excited to be here tonight with you all, and it's the 9 of the ninth, and Mercury is in retrograde. So let's hope that um, it's on the good side for us tonight. It's a bit of a mouthful. So my chapter is called The Butterfly Effect, and the reason for that are many. The butterflies have kind of been a big part of my life since the beginning. Not only the animals, but also through life challenges. And I've got that with me here to remind me that I actually have my own wings as well. So, but except for the word itself. Butterfly, the butterfly effect, as we know, is that a little small change somewhere might create a bigger one somewhere else. And I wanted to put that towards how when I started healing and finding ways to feel better in myself, that also gave off a ripple effect um, straight up in my immediate family, really. My mom was very supportive, and she started changing the way we were eating in the family, and then that suddenly just manifested, and even when I moved out they kept doing that, and it's been amazing to see how she then has been an advocate for herself and just embraced this whole thing. And it's not just because of me, there are other reasons as well. But I could tell that that was a little bit of a catalyst, and then that's how it works. So how by showing up and being us and healing ourselves in the way that we feel needed and wanted, we can spread that, and it can create a ripple effect. So that's where the butterfly effect comes from me, like the title of my chapter. So a little bit of a background story to more of the chapter that I've chosen to write is one of the events that happened for me was in my mid 20s. I had a procedure that a lot of women go through, and it's seen as a very common procedure. It's not really questioned, and everyone does it, and it happens to most. And when it happened to me, I had been in for my pap scan, my pap smear, and they found abnormalities. And what they do then is that they monitor it for a little bit, and then if nothing changes, they take you through this procedure. And this is abnormalities on your cervix, just to be clear. Um, and this procedure is pretty invasive when you think about it afterwards, and when you actually look at what's happening. They're laser beaming off a part of your cervix. And that is just considered very common. And there is no really information around it of what can happen afterwards, what complications might come. It's just looked at something like pulling out a tooth. To be honest, that's how I was approached, and that's how it was informed towards me. So because of that, I didn't think much of it at the time. I followed the procedures. I healed the way it was supposed to be healing, but now that I'm looking back, I can see how there was actually quite big changes that happened for me from that procedure, not just physically, but also emotionally, and a sense of direction of life, and all of that kind of changed, and which is quite hard to look into and understand at that age. And with the information I was given, I you just flick it off and you think about that's how it is, you know. um, so what happened with that is that I put that aside for many years, and it's come and gone, like in my awareness of, okay, what's happening here? What is this? Oh, it's probably just normal, right? Or it's age, or all these things. And at the time, I thought I was getting old. When I was 27. uh, not that old actually. Um, so the first time I actually realized what had happened and what impact it had on me was not until 2018. So, and this is after I had been dealing with other health issues, healing those, mainly focusing on my hormones and inflammation. So I had gone through a lot, and I've dealt with a lot. And at this point in time, I do believe that there was room for this to come up. So everything, as some people might have noticed, going through their own healing, is that there is layers to everything, and not everything is ready at the same time. Um, so what happened was I was more in tune with my body, and I noticed that there was some sensations that I hadn't really picked up on before. Um, and this is when it comes to intimacy. There was a big emptiness, and there was also cramping when I was being intimate with my partner at the time, and I was wondering why. And there was a lot of crying, um, and like there was something not right. I couldn't put my finger on it. It was just, yeah. So luckily, I came in contact with a woman who does who works with other women to come back to their power, to find their inner strength and all of that. And she worked a lot with womb healing and what we might store in our wombs, and not only from our own experience but past experience, like lineage and all of that. And she took me through some breath work, which was the first time I actually intentionally connected to my womb and looked at what was sitting there and what might be blocking me moving forward. And it was a very special moment to go through with her. And yeah, so the energetics behind the cervix was also something that I started to look into and figure out, okay, how does all of this work? I'm a big why person. And when I figured that out through her, I was like, okay, there's more to this. I also found a author who has spent a lot of her time looking into the effects of these procedures. And there are women, I've read some stories, and there are some women that has had far more complications than I have, and there is everything. Like there's so many so many complications from these procedures, not just physically, but emotionally, energetically. And I got like an aha moment, and I was like, okay, all right. So, what are we doing here? What are we dealing with? So, the energetics behind abnormal uh, cells in your cervix, also also known as cervical dysplasia, which is a mouthful to say, is it's mainly it would come to some form of boundary. So the only reason we would let the body, when the body gets sick, it's because of immune system goes down. And the energetics connected to your cervix is boundaries, more so sexual boundaries, actually. And it can be on any level. There is no um, there is no saying exactly what that looks like, but some form of sexual boundary that's been crossed, whatever that looks like for you. So when we let that guard down, that then might allow these abnormal growth to come in. Hi, Natalie. And so on top of, sorry, on top of these boundaries being crossed, there might also be a form of self-rejection involved in these energetics. And when we look at self-rejection, that can also be something following maybe a sexual boundary that's been crossed. But self-rejection, and especially for females to our womb space, kind of starts quite early in life. It's been indoctrinated in a way that we are told as young women that the cervix and whatever happens in the cervix is separate from the rest of our body. Um, there are many different types of contraceptives. I've had a copper IUD, and that has been said to be local, like it only works locally. And there are other things that are being told to women, that whatever happens in the cervix doesn't affect the rest of the body, which is not right, and it's very misleading. So just with that, I'd say we've already rejected this part that's been told that it's not part of our being. It's something separate. It's not connected to the rest of our body. And on top of that, we grow up with maybe painful periods or other ways that we want to disconnect from that space because it's not pleasant. It's not something that we might know how to deal with. So there might have been a long period of self-rejection already. Um, and that can also go back further, as I said before, the womb space is it can be in your lineage as well. It might not necessarily be something that you have been dealing with and experiencing in this lifetime. It can be something that's been inherited. So we can have trauma in our wombs um, through lineage as well. Um, so how does this connect to the throat and your intuition, right? So when we let our boundaries down, when we might ignore our intuition, because that's kind of an extent of letting our boundaries down, we also ignore that intuition that we might have. And we do not speak our truth. So that's how I've put it together when it comes to on an emotional level. But when it comes to, say, our energy bodies, we look through the yoga practice, we look through our chakras, and we have these portals. So the cervix is a portal, our throat is a portal. The throat connects this body to the upper body, in order for the energy and the energy force, and that will come later, the Kundalini force, that it's cultivated down in this space, for that to be able to come up and access our third eye, our crown. We need to have our throat cleared. So physically, the throat and the cervix looks kind of very much the same when you have a cut through picture of them. Um, and that is why breath and using your voice actually also has an impact on your cervical health. So what I did with that coach was creating a sound and letting breath out, but it was visualized as it was actually going out of me, down, not through my mouth. Please let me know if anything is cutting in and out. Hi, Kirsty. Christy. Hi, Tosh. I keep dropping my headphones. um, so I've been going through a little bit of um, the physical connection between the cervix and your throat, and the energy connections between your cervix and your throat. And the reason I've also chosen today to do some pelvic work is because of the muscles in our pelvic floor, is directly connected to and holds the womb, and that whole everything that sits in your pelvic bowl. What I need to bring in as well is the reason why we connect the throat to your cervix, is also due to how the different nerve endings come down. So we got three major nerve endings in our cervix, and that is the vagus nerve. Oh my God, now I had a brain fog. There was a reason I wasn't going to say this, because it doesn't matter. Now I've lost it. So if anyone wants to if anyone has it in themselves, you are more than welcome to share that. I just had a brain fart, so I might just move on. There are three major nerve endings in our cervix, and I will get back to that later. Because I just had a massive brain dump. So why I want to work with our pelvic floor and and those muscles is mainly due to there is a lot of things in our lives, in our lifestyles. There's a lot of practices that work with sometimes actually against of what needs to be done for us to have a healthy womb space and cervix. And what I've noticed in my life, and just in the space that I'm in general, is that I do believe that there is a lot of women suffering from a hypertonic pelvic floor, which is a tense pelvic floor, and the symptoms of that easily gets confused with a loose pelvic floor, if you want to say that, a hypotonic one, because the symptoms are very similar, but they're not the same. So, and usually Kegels is the most common exercise to give out for that. But say that you have a hypertonic pelvic floor, which means that your muscles is constantly tight. If you try to do Kegels with that, you're only gonna make it worse, and you're only gonna make that, like, the muscle can't be any tighter. So what it becomes is inactive, and then you get the same symptoms as of having a loose muscle because you can't work with it. Yeah, it's not working because it's been tense for so long. So what I want to do is actually take you through some simple exercises to just relieve and release that. Um, so please join me if you want to. If not, you might want to just pick that up and I'm still confused with where I put that down. Okay, so I'm gonna sit on a block because I find it easier to find my hip bones towards something that's a little bit harder um, than on a bolster, but it's very much personal choice. So when I sit on this block, I make sure that my hip bones rest onto that. Sorry. And what we first want to do is just close our eyes. And if you've found your seat, please just feel into if you can feel your hip bones towards that surface. Is it is is it even? Is the pressure even? Can you take a breath in, let it out? Can you sink? Can you rely on that your hip bones is holding you up and not your muscles? Just let go of all of those muscles and just trust the fact that you can sit on your hip bones and they will hold you. So once we found that, um, I want to work first with just relaxing our neck and opening that up a little bit. Because as I said before, a tight jaw, a tight neck can affect your pelvic bone and can actually have you clench a little bit down in that area as well. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna just let our head fall a little bit forward, and then we're gonna slowly go to our left, and then just really gentle go back. You don't have to go all the way just yet. And then as you tilt back, you breathe in. And then as you come forward, you breathe out. And then the next time around, maybe this time you can let go of your jaw a little bit. Just let it drop. Don't hold it up. Just let it drop down. And then we'll go 2 more rounds. Just breathe in and breathe out. And now we're going to do the same on the other side. And just let that jaw go. And just see yourself if you pull your shoulders up to meet your neck. Maybe it's better not to go that far back. Maybe go a little bit more gentle. And then we do 2 more. And then you slowly bring your head back up. And now one of the most common pranayamas that we do for our cervix would be the Brahmari, which is the humming pranayama. I'm on the second day of my cycle, and according to literature, Brahmari is not recommended to do on that. If you're pregnant or if you're menstruating, if you know otherwise or you feel otherwise, absolutely you can do that. It's everyone's practice, but I'm not going to be demonstrating that today just because of that. So what we're going to do today instead is very similar to the practice that I did with my coach, and that is to breathe in, fill up, like you fill up all the way down and you feel like it's widening and you're actually filling up down towards your pelvis. And then you let it out through your mouth. If you feel comfortable, you can let some sound out as well. For me, the first time around, and if I'm a bit tense and I haven't done it in a while, you can feel the voice being a bit cracky and a bit like trembling and it's not clear. But it's a beautiful feeling when that becomes clear and you can actually feel it all the way and you can feel a clearing as well. So we're going to do these 3 more times. So we breathe in. Fill it up. Feel the air coming through your throat. One last time. And now if you've any time during this practice might have pulled up a little bit in your muscles, have a feel around, see if you can relax anything else and just rely on those hip bones. They will hold you. So what we're going to do now to find a way of moving our pelvic floor and release is a bit of a tilting exercise. I'm going to sit a little bit to my side so that you can see. Okay. So what we do now is that we're going to find our hip bones and we're going to tilt them forward. And you can feel the back, how it opens up. And that's a breath in. And then you breathe out. And then you sit back and pull up. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. We'll do this 3 more times. You just like, it's like a rocking chair on your hip bones. One more time for good luck. And then we come back down and just notice and see how you're feeling. If has anything changed? Do you feel like the weight might be sitting on it in a different way? Does this feel more natural for you in your pelvic floor? Yeah, it's very natural for women to have a little bit of a tilt. And that is something that I've noticed a lot in yoga asana practice, is that there are some contra indication postures, pardon my English, that actually works against the natural tilt of a female pelvis. There are definitely time and place for tucking in your tailbone to protect your spine, to protect and keep integrity of your body. But there are also places where it's good for you to actually just relax and let that tilt be. And that comes back to the Kegel practices that is given out. Like sometimes bandhas, especially the root lock, the Muladhara bandha, could be not working for you if you're already tense and already have a hypertonic pelvic floor. So the next little exercise that works really well to relax is a cat-cow, but a cat-cow made and done a little bit differently than we normally do in our yoga asana practice. So we'll come to all fours, but this time, instead of using our muscles to move in this posture, we go back and once again we rely on our bones, because our bones will carry us. So we breathe in and we do the similar posture that we just did on the block. And then we breathe out and we don't pull our navel in. We just rely on the bones to move. Breathe in, breathe out. And we'll move our head and our neck as well in this. I will do it a little bit less because I don't want to lose my headphones. And then we breathe in and breathe out. There we go. And we breathe in and we breathe out. And just one more time. And breathe out. Now we're coming back into just a normal position. So see how that felt for you. It takes a while to tell your body to not activate the muscles when you do these, but that's the whole point of it, to not use your muscles in this and just let it relax. Just let your bones do the work for you. And now, because we had a little bit of a technical problem before, here you could there are so many more asanas you can do, postures for this. Uh, Most of them laying or sitting down, which is really comfortable and accessible. You would do maybe a one-legged happy baby. there are other things you can do with the strap where you stretch and on all of that, but I'm not going to do that tonight because we are coming to time soon. So I actually want to put you in a bit of a relaxation if that's where you're at. If you have a mat and have that sorted, you can bring your bolster and you just put that under your knees. You get comfortable, you lay down, and what I like to do when I do this for this purpose is to put something a little bit more heavy on top of your belly and your cervix area. It can be a cushion, it can be another blanket, anything that gives a little bit of weight and warmth. And then you can lay down and get comfortable in this. And we're gonna go into a little short relaxation together. Okay. So now that you're laying here, if you are, just close your eyes and tune in. And for every breath in, direct that down into your cervix area and your womb space. Fill it with warmth, fill it with light, and just be very aware of that space when you are in your relaxation. In this time, I want to share with you a little something that I found in one of the literature that I've been reading over the years. And this is from a book called The Wild Feminine. The womb is one of the wisest places in the female body and are the most ignored. Though we may listen to her in regard to birthing babies, we ought to be listening in terms of our whole creative lives. And this is Don Elijeo, a Mayan healer in the 1800s. That's a quote from him. He spoke of his village gathering around the fire in the morning to listen to the dreams of the menstruating women for the psychic information they contained. We need to remember our way back to this kind of knowing that the living energies of our bodies relate deeply to the movement of our lives. So there is a lot of wisdom, and for me the theme has definitely been that women hasn't really been honored for what we are and what we bring. And there has been so many years where we have been encouraged to step out of our power to compete more with men, which is, in my opinion, we should not compete. We should work together as a team. I'm gonna let you lay in this for a little bit longer. I am so grateful to have been able to share this with you tonight, and I am very honored that you have shown up to this space, and thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This, I was really nervous, but it turned out all right. And I hope that you have taken something from this evening, and that if you have any questions, you can please set them in the, sorry. It went so well. Mercury retrograde. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will share some of my literature in my comments as well, as this is not the teachings of me, this is teachings of others that I am humbled to have come across and got to share a little bit of with you tonight. So if there is anyone who has any questions, I'll be sitting here for a bit in silence, and whoever is relaxing on their mat, please continue to do that. Okay. I was hoping to find the answer to my brain part earlier, but that did not happen. So with that, I will soon close this space. Um, Thank you again, everyone who showed up. Um, and please, this is my first time. I'd love some feedback. Um, and I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful Friday night. The 9/9 portal, the full moon coming up, and hopefully Mercury retrograde will leave my headphones alone so that we can have a lovely night. So, good night. Happy Friday. I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.